Hi, this is Pico Trail, phase 12, and we just started from Udaveriya ending in Haputale. So we have climbed this most difficult terrain, the mountain, and we have come to the peak. But anyway, so Bhanuka, you being a naturalist, I have a question for you. Why do young, healthy, fit people get heart attack? Why do you think?
Yeah, I think mostly it can be the pressure and the mental pressure, and even the bad food habit. So mostly the younger generations are having junk food. We call it maybe fried rice, kottu, any street food, some quick food. Because many of my friends are working in Colombo or some other urban areas, so they are always having some quick meals and no exercises, and they don't burn it.
Yeah.
So yeah, in my point,
That's a lifestyle, food. You're almost there. So shall we little go deeper? So there are several reasons why young people, healthy, fit people get heart attack. It's a puzzle for everyone. So we see every day, and we hear every day, and then young people get heart attack, but they are generally healthy and fit. Number one is, when you talk about heart attack, we always talk about LDL, cholesterol. It's not purely LDL, it's an inflammation. So if there's an inflammation in your system, the body, and you are more vulnerable for heart attacks. LDL can be normal, your cholesterol can be normal, you can be a very fit person. So only way to check that you have inflammation is high sensitivity CRP level. If that is above 2, that means you are having inflammations, that you are very vulnerable for heart attack. And so therefore make sure that you don't have inflammation. How do you get inflammation? Lack of sleep, number one. Stress, chronic stress, and insulin resistance. I will talk about insulin resistance later on. And bad food habit, that Bhanuka said. And highly processed food, carbs, high carbs, especially refined sugars. So lack of sleep. So these are the main factors for chronic inflammation. That is number one. Then number two is there is this thing called insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is something people don't know. And so your insulin levels goes up when you take carbs, high refined sugars, and also highly processed food. And so when the insulin levels goes up, you get diabetes, you get high blood pressure, you get inflammation, you get all sort of things. More than that, so you are more vulnerable for inflammation. And also there is another thing, your cholesterol still can be normal, LDL, but ApoB, there is another type of cholesterol that is more atherogenic than and more plaque forming than any other lipids, and so therefore your ApoB levels goes up. So that could cause heart attacks, and if the levels are more than 80, that means you have to be very careful.
So how do you detect insulin resistance? So you have to check the fasting insulin level. If the fasting insulin level is more than 50 micro international unit per millimeter, suggest you are in insulin resistance. So make sure that it is below at least 10. If it is 10, that means you know that you are not having insulin resistance.
So that is what is happening with insulin resistance. So make sure that you don't take high carbs, refined sugars, and also highly processed food. And you move, and you have to move and do some activity, physical activity. Well, there's another reason. We discuss about insulin resistance, we discuss about inflammation, and then this ApoB 100. That's also another kind of lipid-related particle. I would say it's a protein attached to the so-called the common lipoprotein, that is LDL. That everyone thinks that LDL is causing heart attack. So then VLDL, as well as intermediate type of lipoprotein. Actually, all these lipoproteins contain ApoB 100. If you have ApoB 100, that means those particles, the LDL, IDL, VLDL in the lipid profile you get from the lab, they become more atherogenic. So you have to, just because you go for a lipid profile and see all these conventional lipoproteins, you have to always ask ApoB 100. That will show, that will tell you how atherogenic or how plaque forming, how vulnerable you are for plaque forming, for heart attacks. So that's the measure you have to check. So always remember that you check your ApoB 100. If you have ApoB 100 more than 80, I would say, that is not good. And if it is more than 100, that means 100 milligram per deciliter. That means you're more vulnerable, very high risk. So make sure that your levels bring down to at least 60 or 70. How do you bring it down? And so treat with statins, I would say, cholesterol lowering drugs you give for LDL lowering. So take that. Then ApoB 100 levels goes down. As well as if you have insulin resistance, when you have insulin resistance, levels goes up. Fix the insulin resistance. And so that's the only way is cut down all sugars, refined sugars, highly processed food, and move. And so the regular exercises, zone 2 exercises, at least 30 minutes a day, just walking. Your zone 2 exercise is actually you keep your heart rate between 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. Just 30 minutes a day, 3 to 4 times a week, that is enough to fix your ApoB 100. So it's a very, very important thing for an average person to check the ApoB 100. Next reason is a high level of LPA. LPA is another reason for young heart attack without elevated LDL. And LPA has a special protein that's like LDL, that's called lipoprotein little a. So this is very atherogenic, and that also could cause heart attacks. So heart attacks usually caused by thrombosis and heavy calcification. And also it can cause aortic valve calcification. Usually the level should be below 30 milligram per deciliter. If it is above 60, I would say people have to be very careful. The person would run a very high risk of heart attacks. By the way, we are at Hidalgas Hin and 1622 from the sea level. So all in all, what you have to check is, for inflammation, we have to check high sensitivity CRP. Then you have to check the high insulin level for insulin resistance. Then you have to check ApoB 100 for high level of ApoB, and also you have to check the LPA, that's called lipoprotein little a. So these are the causes of for heart attacks for healthy fit people. So they have normal LDL level and they are fit people. They don't have any other risk factors. So you have to check all these things if you want to find out whether you run a high risk for heart attack in future.